Hi, it's Cammy. Charlie talks football.
So it's full time. Newcastle draw with Crystal Palace. It finishes 1-1, and honestly, what an awful performance that was, Dad. For me, really, really poor from Newcastle, and everything was wrong today, Dad. There were so many things wrong.
Even if we won that game 1-0 today, it was a really poor performance. We didn't have one shot on goal the whole game. Joe Linton, I would have had him off after the first 20 minutes because he wasn't tracking back and he was ambling about. For the goal at the end there, he's just totally switched off and they've scored at the back post.
Yeah.
It was a poor performance. There's not many players, I think, I thought Lewis Hall did all right, Tonali did all right, Burnham Shaw did all right. But apart from that, I thought we were pretty poor.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I think Joe Linton should have been took off at half-time. But I think it's Eddie Howe's stubbornness. I'll be completely honest with you, Dad. I think he's very, very stubborn at times. And I think maybe he's scared to take Joe Linton off. I don't know if there's something in his contract or something, maybe. But it's just frustrating because it's the same old mistakes. And our midfield today just wasn't working at all.
Yeah, it looked a bit lost. Willock seemed to be playing a bit more on the left of the midfield three. Tonali seemed to be in the holding role and Bruno just to the right of him. But they only clicked at certain times in the game. And when Longstaff's not playing, we don't look the same in midfield.
Yeah,
and
which isn't good enough, is it? Considering.
But one thing I want to mention, which we always get frustrated about, Newcastle's defending on corners. Every time Palace had a corner, they had a free header and they nearly scored. What on earth are we doing on the training ground to work on that, to improve it? Because it never looks like it's improving.
I've been saying this for so long, guys. Our corners, like you said, are absolutely awful. Is it Eddie Howe? And I now believe that it probably is Eddie Howe and the coaching team, who it's just shocking. Our players just stand there with... We're not going to, let's be honest, I don't think we'll get European football this season. I'm very, very concerned because going into January coming up, I don't think we're going to spend hardly any money. I don't think Eddie Howe is going to get backed. And for me, most of the blame's on Eddie Howe today because, like I said, I think the substitutions, he brought them on a bit too late. And you could tell what was going to happen. And like I said to my dad, even when we were winning the game, I still felt really, really angry. And I actually felt like even if Newcastle would have gone on and won the game, and I'm not just saying this because we haven't managed to win, but I felt like, it sort of felt like a loss because we were just poor and we didn't deserve to win the game.
We didn't deserve to win the game, and like I say, even if we had won it, yes, we would have been happy with the win, but not with the performance because it was awful. It was really poor. I'm Eddie Howe's biggest fan and I always defend him. I think he develops players. I think he's a really good coach, but the proof is in the pudding on the pitch. And we don't look like we're improving when we're defending corners. And I honestly don't know. Do they practice corners and defending?
It's laughable, to be honest. Like, when we see it happening, Dad, me and you, we're trying not to get angry, but we're actually laughing at how bad we are.
It's so frustrating.
Pathetic. Like, a primary school side could probably mark players better than us on corners because it's pathetic.
Listen, I know it's not like a disaster where we are in the league or anything like that, and I do still think Howe's a really good coach, but I'm just so frustrated at some of the things that go on the pitch. And I mean, the first half we looked a bit lost at times. I thought we'd started well. We always start well,
right? Like for the first 10 minutes, we'll put a bit of pressure on.
We played well the first 10 minutes.
The Isaac thing, I want to mention that as well.
Yeah, but we were giving the ball away needlessly as well at times when there was no pressure on him. But Isaac, obviously, I think it was who was it? It was Lacroix pushed him into Mitchell, and it was an impact injury. Bangs into him, hurts his hip, goes down. The guy comes on, the physio puts some spray on, and he gets up, and then he decides he can't carry on. Now it may be that his mobility's been impacted by that, and he can't play on. But it's like, come on, man, can you grin and bear it and play?
For me, he's perfectly fine, and I think that I'm really worried about the body language of Isaac. I don't know if any Newcastle fans have noticed, but for me, even when he's scoring, he doesn't look right, in my opinion, Dad. I think I worry about him leaving Newcastle, to be honest. It's sad, but that's just my opinion personally.
I don't know how I think it looked like an impact injury, and maybe like I say, he hasn't been able to continue.
Yeah.
But you know, the way he walked off and that, he did look disappointed. I will say that, but it's just frustrating. And then obviously he decides, because Wilson's just come back, not to put him on straight away. I can understand that. And we said he'll put Gordon on, which he did. Put Gordon in the middle and put Barnes on, which he did. But then Wilson comes on and he does look lively. So
I thought he was all right.
I thought he looked lively, and I thought Tonali at times looked good, but we have to improve, because you know what will happen is we'll probably lift a game on Wednesday night against Liverpool and give them a good game. That's what we do. It's the attitude and mentality sometimes. And you could see how he was frustrated. He was telling the players to push up. He was telling them to press. He was shouting at them, you know, because he was getting frustrated, because they're obviously sometimes not doing what they're being instructed to do. But it's so frustrating, because this team's got so much potential, but so many of the basic mistakes we'll make.
Yeah, but is that on the manager? Is that the way we're set up? Because I agree with you. I think it is both, because it's, first of all, I think Newcastle players also need to get criticised, not just anyhow, because their mentality was not right. We've got players who, I don't want to blame Tonali or anything, but we spent a lot of money on him, and he's playing fantastic for Italy on international duty, so it makes you think, is Eddie Howe playing him on the wrong side? And this has been a constant problem, Dad, because I want to make the point that even when we first signed Tonali, he played well in that first game against Villa, and after that, there was always problems. So it's a recurring thing, and as much as I do like Howe, I think I'm starting to question some of his decision making and how he sets the team up, because for me it's just not good enough.
Yeah, it would be great if you could get the midfield of Joe Linton and Bruno and Tonali together to work, or Willock, it depends, but obviously he's put Joe Linton on the left now, which has been working in some games. But again, in the game against West Ham, Joe Linton wasn't tracking back, and he didn't have a good attitude. And yes, at times he looks good on the ball, and he is strong, and he is a very good player. But he was really... In parts of the game today, he was really poor, and he needs to improve, and his mentality and attitude needs to improve on the pitch, because sometimes it looks like he doesn't care, and other times he'll do stuff that you think that's great.
But is that just the way he plays, or
I think it's his persona, the way he plays. Sometimes he looks a bit slow, and then he'll use his strength and spin past players. So I understand that's his style of play sometimes. But when players are breaking past you, and you've got to defend, and you're just jogging back, and you're not showing a desire, that's no good at that level. It's not good, no good at any level. But you know, you get punished in the Premier League, and we didn't have one shot on target the whole game.
Absolutely pathetic.
You know, so we need to improve, because it'll be a tough game against Liverpool.
But I want to mention the corners point again, because I think it's important that we keep repeating this. What is going on with the corners? Because why is it zonal marking?
Sometimes we do zonal marking, and you've got to take responsibility for your area. So someone, if runs into your area, they've got momentum to jump, but you've got to defend your own area.
I blame the coaches, because why on earth? It's the same recurring problem. And if Eddie Howe is supposed to be like a good manager, and if we're as fans noticing that, and it's the same thing every game, surely Eddie Howe's aware of it. I think he is aware of it, to be honest, but for some reason it's just not like is it a failure of the coaches? Would you even potentially sack some of the coaches, Dad, and look to bring in some new coaches in? And I know that's probably a bit harsh, but it's true, because it's just not been good enough.
If you keep repeating the same error, you've got to ask, why is it not being addressed? So you either you can put players in who can do it, or you address it on the training ground to try and improve it. And it doesn't seem like that's happening on corners, because like every corner they had today,
it's laughable.
I think there was Crow had 2 free headers in 2 consecutive corners. And he could have scored, and that's not good enough at this level. So we need to improve that. We need to lift ourselves and get ready for Liverpool on Wednesday night, because that's going to be tough.
We're falling behind, aren't we, Dad? Other teams are picking up points. I'm worried. I really am worried, because I want to... Dad, are you starting to question Eddie Howe? Because I know, obviously, I've criticised him in the last couple of games. You're probably more of
well,
a
I'm
fan
probably
of
his
him
biggest
than
fan,
I am.
yeah, because I think
yeah.
he does develop and improve players. But like I've said, you know, there's certain things we need to improve on the pitch, especially set pieces. Yes, we scored a goal from a set piece.
Would you blame Eddie Howe for the way he has us set up, or would you?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's the players' attitude sometimes, and sometimes it's the coach where we have us set up, because you know, they should be drilled for corners. When we're taking corners, we don't look like we're going to score many from them. I think we've had over 65 corners and we've scored one goal from 65 corners, which isn't good enough. When we're defending corners, we look like we're going to concede every time. So you've got to address that on the training ground. And if the players aren't doing it, you have to bring players in who are doing it. So, you know, I don't know. It's a mixture of both things, players and coach, I think.
But I think, to be honest, Dad, I'll be completely honest with you, we're getting to a point where in the next few months, if we're still seeing the same things, because I want to just put out an important point to you guys, because even when we're winning games, when we're beating Arsenal and Chelsea, you're still seeing the same things on corners, the same things in the way we're set up. And if we're winning games but you still see the same stuff, that's when you go, do you have to remove the manager? And of course, I know as much as Eddie Howe's done a lot of great stuff for Newcastle, that's in the past now, and we've unfortunately got to look to the future. And you don't want our top players leaving in the summer like Isaac and Bruno, but if things don't improve and we start seeing the same stuff, I'd seriously consider getting rid of them, to be honest, guys.
I think Palace have only conceded 3 goals at all. Scored 3 goals at Selhurst Park this season, and today they could have had maybe 3 or 4. Pope made a couple of saves, but we were really poor. But let us know what your thoughts are. Are we overreacting? What do you think of the game? Who do you think played well? Do you think it's the How or the players, or a mixture of both? Let us know in the comments, because we really like to read your comments.
Yeah, we really appreciate your comments. Liverpool, and that's going to be another one of those games where if we lose that, it's going to be even more difficult, isn't it? And then we've got Brentford away, which I think they've beaten Leicester.
And then Leicester we've got
another tough game, and Leicester have got a new manager, so it's frustrating, and maybe a change is needed soon. But give us your thoughts, guys.
Thanks for watching and listening to a rant. It's been a bit of a rant today, but it's just because we're passionate and we want the team to do better and be as good as they can.
Thank you for watching, guys.
See you next one. Bye.